Hi, this is Stessa Cohen from Pivot Assets, and this was actually my first video recording sent out through the newsletter and elsewhere. I wanted to welcome you today. I brought together a great group of people to talk about the recent takeover of the Bureau of Fiscal Services payment system, aka the Treasury payment system, by non-civil service employees, which include Elon Musk and some others. Just in case you don't know what the Treasury system does, it manages 90% of the payments that go through the federal payment system, including Social Security benefits, tax refunds, payments to federal workers, contractors, totals more than $5 trillion US. So it's a big deal. It also works as an intermediary between the federal government agencies and the wider payment systems, routing payments to recipients through the Federal Reserve and into the banking system. So it's not a trivial point that this will affect banking and payments, service providers, rails, and everybody else. So just want to go around and introduce the group that are gathered here today. We'll start first with Richard.
Hey everybody, Richard Steenen. I'm an industry analyst, former Gartner, and I cover the cybersecurity arena.
Hey, Don.
Oh, hey, Dion Lyle here. Longtime bank innovator, never actually been a banker, but I've worked for large banks.
And Alex.
Alex Jimenez, been a banker for many, many years, several different banks, national, regional, and community banks. Also, I've worked as a consultant and in fintech, and currently at Backbase, which is a fintech company.
Awesome. And Theo.
Hello, so I'm Theo. Never been a banker, but I do work with financial institutions as well as fintechs, looking mostly at financial inclusion and tech innovation.
Awesome. Awesome. So, my first thought when I saw this news was that this brings together a bad storm of things. Risk aversion, which banks hate risk, we all know, conservative, don't like exposure, vulnerabilities of any kind, security and otherwise. Um, Involvement of the payments and banking financial systems with politics, also not a great combo for the risk averse. And data and security exposures. Like, I'm not a security expert, so that was why I was really interested in Richard's first, takes and analysis of what are the security exposures for financial institutions here.
When you talk like that, you also have to remember the other side of the risk aversion, and that's trust. And banking and financial systems and markets depend a lot on trust. And of course, the U.S. government has phenomenal value in its trust that it's built up, right? It's the dollar is the reserve currency for practically all of the world. It's because we trust it to always be there. And U.S. treasuries are trusted to always be paid on time. So when all of a sudden the system used to actually make payments and disperse funds is taken over by outside non-vetted, certainly not security cleared people, it could degrade that trust dramatically with repercussions that may not even require some of the horrible things that could happen. I suspect, as in every case we've ever seen like this, when untrained non-professionals get access to powerful systems, they make mistakes. And a single mistake could be so devastating that everybody's risk registers are totally void right now because nobody had the risk of, U.S. payments on T-bills not being made on time, being missed. Oops, we didn't do that one. We didn't understand what that thing was before we okayed it. That would be a really bad thing. A single missed payment on T-bills means a default, and we don't want to go there. And that's before we get to, hey, every single hacker in the world now knows the names and identities of the kids who have access to this and are trying to breach their own systems and trying to get in there. Not to mention the least of which would be China, Iran, and Russia.
Oh, that's a really good point. It's not just the system itself, but it's the people who are now have access to the system, their security vulnerabilities.
Yeah. If you've got first of all, building complete trust around a system like that, when banks do it, right, they have a separate vault, essentially a room with hardware security modules that need two people present and their smart cards in order to initiate a transaction, sign a digital certificate, essentially. I kind of doubt that exists in Treasury. I don't think it exists at the Federal Reserve. I remember an interview with Ben Bernanke, and the interviewer said, "So, what does it mean to change the reserves at a bank?" And Ben Bernanke just said, "We just changed the numbers. Did this." He's typing. You go into a virtual spreadsheet and you change the reserves at a bank. That's the basis of our monetary system, is a number in an account system. And that is essentially what these kids now have access to.
Well, and if I could add on to that, Richard, don't forget, this gives Musk and his high school juniors the opportunity to have more insider trading information than anyone in history.
Wow.
Literally, they can buy and sell bank stocks based on what you just said, Richard, as well as bonds based on the US government's fiscal position at any given moment. They're not obliged to not do that. There's no insider trading laws that are going to impact them. These kids could make billions in the next month.
I think beyond that too, right? If you think about payment flow, you think about where that money's coming from and going to. Now, instantly, they have access to information of every single American, basically, and every single American business. That to me is, like I told Stessa, it's a code red alarm. It is. I fail to understand why this is not on the front page top of every single newspaper and news outlet. I'm just looking in Wall Street Journal right now. It's like buried all the way down in the bottom. It wasn't even like a mid page where it was this morning. This is unacceptable risk. Not only that, they have access to it, they can manipulate it to however long they can, but also the amount of information they have since downloaded from it, which we don't know where it's gone. We don't know who would have access to it, and we don't know what will happen to it afterwards. The repercussions of someone being able to physically be in there, I don't think you can actually walk back on it.
We should also look at who are these people, right? We're talking about Elon Musk, who is a CEO of various different companies, a CEO that has had issues with the SEC, a CEO that seems to be just like a cowboy out there, right? He has been given the power to do things that are beyond the scope of a usual U.S. agency. And we're not talking about someone who has been well vetted. We're not talking about someone who has that may not be easily manipulated, right? This is someone who has a history of all kinds of trolling and all kinds of activities just because he felt he was funny, right? And is that the kind of person that we want to have access to this kind of data and this kind of power? And then the people that are working for him, right? College students, college age students, and I believe that one of them is a high school student, or right. These are, I'm sure, they're very smart people, but these are not people that are the kinds of people that we have given this kind of capabilities in the past. And by the way, everybody knows their names because it's out there. Everybody knows who they are. There's pictures of them, and it's not like we have a secret person that may not be easily manipulated by China or Russia or the mafia or whomever, right?
And not only that, but what was I thinking? Go on. Someone else talk. I lost my thought.
Yeah, I think the other thing we need to
Sorry.
think about, the other thing we need to think about is also not just this particular instance by itself, right? So as we think about someone actually, a CISO taught me that years ago. He said, when you think about security, think about peeling onion, layers and layers and layers. So this, you can regard it as a huge layer, but it's one layer. You think about the breach into US 8, all of the files, all of the information of this country's dealing with outside entities, right? So that's another layer. And then you think about, perhaps could be far-fetched, but not within potential realms given the turn of events the last 2 weeks. Think about what X is doing with Visa, integrating all of those things in there. Could one imagine a potential scenario in the future? Imagine they are already asking some of the government agencies to use X solely for communication with outside press. Okay. What if X becomes the sole place where government agencies communicate with everyone, where people, if they want to get, I don't know, their grants, their social security payments, any of those through X, everything, I think, I don't ever remember a private entity so closely coupled with the government. There's a huge conflict of interest, but also brings forth enormous power that I don't think should reside with one person.
So
right? What if they're pissed off, right? Like what Alex say.
Have any of you visited the Treasury?
I worked for the Treasury Department when I was in college.
So I did great. You understand. I visited Treasury years ago with City Ventures. It was so hard to get in the building. I had to show my passport. I had to do a bunch of stuff. The people who were with, they had to guide me around. They had to badge in. How the hell did he just walk in?
I think there were some people who tried to stop them. If I was remembering reading some
where
of
were
stuff.
the police? Treasury has their own enforcement group. Where were they? How did this just roll? I am.
The head of Treasury resigned because he refused, and then he was the acting secretary, and the new one, elected by Democrats or approved by Democrats, just stepped right in and let him do it. Just open the door for him.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
They threatened to call the U.S. Marshals if they wouldn't let them in. So.
Oh, is that?
That
was my expectation.
Yeah, I mean, but the coupling of X as a super app, a super payments and banking app that could have access to all those bank account numbers and payment information, and then coupled with bad things that people and organizations can do. I mean, you could see massive fraud just on the X super app just start to happen because, why not? I mean, it's just an opening to that, just extending out. And how do you even secure any of that then?
I mean, that whole stack was not secure to begin with, right?
Right.
And there's a reason why you can't run government systems the same way you run a private entity. It does not work. To Rich's point, it's just, you can't do that. Yeah. This is trillions of dollars at play.
Yeah, and also getting rid of the acting head was totally eliminating 3 decades or almost 4 decades of institutional knowledge and experience and expertise, right? Because there's a reason these systems are complex. So you may be smart at programming, but a payment system like this, there's no other payment system like this, And
I don't think the kids were born when COBOL was written.
Right. Exactly. It's a COBOL system. These kids aren't even going to know how to start.
Yep.
I started my career in tech in COBOL, documenting a COBOL-based textbook management system in the District of Columbia. That code was crazy. And the paper was only that thick, right? That thick stack of paper. So yeah, I mean, that not having institutional knowledge, the ability to break something, so easy.
What do we think as a group that Musk's goal is? And not to make it political, but literally, I'm the richest man in the world, and this is how I spend my time. What does he actually want, do you think?
So I've been thinking about that a lot. First of all, on the immediate, why did he do this? Walk into Treasury, that's just straight playbook. When you take over a company, you get control of the bank accounts.
Follow the money.
You get control of the money and the payments, and he did that with Twitter, and he immediately stopped paying payments to contractors. But there's a much bigger picture, and it's such a rabbit hole. But it's basically the tech bros have this fantasy utopian vision of a future where they can do what they want, right? So
Okay.
unregulated kind of environments.
Just the oligarch thing.
Not oligarch thing. No, it's libertarian. It's like freedom.
Oh, that okay.
Yeah, this
Interesting.
is 17-year-old Richard Seenen reading Atlas Shrugged for the first time.
Got
going,
it.
oh yes, all of the people who are creative and all the rest, we're gonna go on strike. We're gonna live in our little enclave, okay? And Peter Thiel
Yes.
supported all these seafaring, floating city concepts, right? That was the beginning of this. They have a philosopher that they all bow down to, and J.D. Vance quotes him frequently, and the whole process requires destroying what's there.
Okay.
So there's something, I think it's called the Butterfly Manifesto or something, and it's step by step.
It's basically Ayn Rand on steroids.
Yeah, Ayn Rand on steroids, right? Okay. And it includes Mark Andreessen and Peter Thiel and Sachs and all these guys, and they I a few times in my life I've been financially free, right? I got rid of a mortgage and all the rest, and it's so invigorating. It means you can just like do so much if you're at that stage. Imagine a billionaire,
right?
Imagine how that feels like. You can do everything except the government keeps getting in the way. And
not anymore.
Yeah. Well, so isn't this one of the intersections with what bankers often want? They want less regulation.
They lie, though. They're protected by regulation. Bankers are full of shit. They're absolutely liars. Banks love regulation because it keeps the fintechs at bay. They all hem and haw and rub their pearls. They love regulation. That is their firewall from actually competing on better product, better services.
Absolutely. And not just against the fintechs, but just look at how they get upset if somebody says something about credit unions. Oh no, hold on. Credit unions, they're bad, they don't pay taxes, etc. So it isn't just fintechs, it's any entrance in the space, right? If you're not part of our club, you don't want to be part of the club.
I've never bought bankers hate regulation. Absolutely. In my opinion, 100% opposite.
Right.
I just wanted to throw that out there. So some things that you see would suggest that, but I think it also protects them, and it protects each kind, especially in the US, each kind of financial institution. And certainly it's protected banks and customers from some of the banking as a service disasters we've seen. I mean, and we're still seeing. What do we see as the implications for bankers and providers? What should they be doing right now? How should they be talking to their customers? How should the cybersecurity and security teams be reacting, and also preparing for the future? If that's like an hour from now, or
I think first of all they need assurance from the Fed. The trust that banks have comes with the trust that the banks have for the Fed, and if there is no trust there, then it's dominoes. It all falls apart. So just as Dion was saying, and Richard was saying about the reserves for banks, if they can't trust the Fed, then what do they do? So that if banks are not worried right now, particularly the compliance folks and the regulation folks, that they should be. because it's a wild west if none of this exists, and that also means then the businesses who are banking with the banks are should be worried about it. And then, consumers should be worried about it. Everyone should be worried about this, because not only does the Treasury have access to the payment system, but it also has access to a ton of our data, including all our tax numbers, all our social security numbers, all of that can be compromised. So this could be just beyond, it's just unfathomable, the amount of privacy that suddenly has been lost because these 5 people showed up and got access to the systems.
I mean, he already said that he is planning to unilaterally cancel millions of dollars of government grants. He came out and say that we're going to cancel it. So the implication is vast for practically every single American in this country and beyond.
Yep.
If I were a global bank right now, I would think about what should I be doing to communicate and not communicate with my U.S. counterparts.
Yep.
I would start to think from there too, because a lot of what we do is built on trust, and you have to assume to a certain extent what we have in the U.S. is already compromised.
Yeah.
So what can you do and what should you do to safeguard the rest of your organization?
The other part is, not just American companies and people that do business with the U.S., but so many countries rely on the strength of the dollar as being their currency. All of that's gone, and all that could be gone in a minute, right? So this is an economical problem, a global economic problem. This isn't just a country going through this. This is big, and it's playing into the hands of China and Russia, and it is very scary.
Yeah. Do you think this could really hurt the fintech market in terms of funding and growth and all of that? Especially Dion, because you work really deeply in that.
It's interesting because a lot of the fintechs I talk to, and I don't mean this derisively, I think they're just naive about how the Fed works and how they connect into the bigger financial system. And those of us on the call have had exposure to all of the above. And I think a lot of fintechs are naive about that. And I don't think this is on the radar. Theo, you made the point online and earlier now. How is this not above the fold? How is this not listed as the coup of our financial system was just literally taken over by somebody with no interest in America succeeding and 4 children? And how there's not a 9/11 call or a fire alarm, how Congress isn't up in arms, how the U.S. Marshals haven't rolled out. I don't know how everyone's asleep at the wheel, except for this. The fintechs and others are naive about what this means. They're like the Treasury. They set rates. They do stuff. Okay, they have a big building. Cool. But they have no idea the implications. This touches everything in America. And whoever made the point, I apologize, I don't remember. Start with the money. Richard, I think it was you. Follow the money. First thing you do, take over Treasury. Now I get to do whatever I want with the rest of the government. And Richard, maybe you're right. Maybe it's some weird libertarian Ayn Rand nonsense that they're trying to execute and implement. Project 2025, perhaps. But it's really big, and fintechs are naive to this. They think VCs are still going to have money. They don't care.
It's Social Security, it's Medicare, it's grants, it's payments to contractors.
The list goes
on.
Everyone.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think of banking in particular as bankers' hours. I mean, literally, the bank doesn't open until 9 a.m. and the Wall Street doesn't open until a set time. And it's like you've got all these like reliefs, where you don't have to do anything right now. You got 12 hours before the bank opens. Elon Musk on Saturday said, working weekends is a superpower.
I saw that.
Yeah. And he was, he's like, literally, we're doing all this on the weekend, just like Trump is up late at night tweeting that he's going to impose tariffs on Colombia. I mean, I don't see how the markets survive today, Monday, when we're recording this, when
Yeah.
the markets supposedly don't like uncertainty, and now the president can impose tariffs by tweet on True Social Truth, whatever that is. We're a very scary time. And it
Yeah, I mean, the
doesn't
last
help
time we did
either.
tariffs like this was the 1930s. How did that work out? Refresh my memory.
I looked into it. I asked ChatGPT. I said, "Hey,
Oh.
tell me about Smoot Hawley and the stock market crash." ChatGPT was very like, "Oh, not to worry. That was then. This is now. We've got controls in place, and there weren't any
I am not
regulations."
convinced we have controls in place over anything at this point.
No,
Yeah.
no.
3 months ago, you could have convinced me that. Today, you cannot.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that was really concerning to me, I saw someone from Serbia posted, Serbia, Croatia, I don't remember, posted a thread on Blue Sky about how Milosevic took power in Yugoslavia and took control, and the civil war started. And one of the things that happened was control over the financial system became politicized. And my concern, having worked in a bank and seeing how conservative politically the higher ups were, that there's not a sense that this is problematic, and that now the politics have entered their realm. And I don't mean this in a derisive, this party is good, that party is bad, but when you push the financial system, the banking system in with political power, not a good result in Yugoslavia.
No.
That's an
I
interesting
mean,
one.
it was really very powerful example, because it was just with all these other things. This was a specific example that this guy pulled out. I don't know his name. Somebody I trust, sent the reposted it. But this togetherness of politics and banking doesn't seem like it's that trustworthy thing, because how much trust do Americans already not have in politics and political parties? And it goes to what everyone was saying earlier, that if you don't have trust in the banking system, do you start to have runs on cash?
I think there is also an additional challenge that we seem to be facing. I think, Dion, you alluded to it, is the guardrails and the controls that we thought were in place are not working. This is a completely different scenario, a new playbook that I don't believe we had seen in this country recently. And I have a feeling that whatever means that elected officials might or may not be trying to pursue with the formal channels are not going to work. You have a bunch of renegades who are trying to take over the government the same way that they took over a private entity. I don't know, nor do I think they do care about what's going to happen next. And if we don't have the ability to somehow get the control back, just having senators, like posting press releases and say, well, this is not going to pass through Congress. Well, with all due respect, they're not trying to.
Right.
So what's next?
Doing it. Yeah, well, just you senators should turn around and just do stuff like they are right now as we record this. They're standing in front of USAID's headquarters and trying to get in and whatever. At least they're moving. They're doing something.
Yeah, but like from a banking position, like what are they going to do about this? Are they going to post something on their website long and boring that nobody reads and can't understand? Are they, going to say nothing, or or reassure their customers everything's fine?
Well,
Yeah,
let's hope they're not going to be like Barclays over the weekend that ask people to go reach out to their family and food bank. Hopefully they're going to be a little smarter than that. I don't know.
That's not been my experience.
That's literally what they did this weekend when the system went down and people can't pay their tax bills in the UK. Someone who thought it was a good idea to post and say, well, it's the time, if you need help, go reach out to the food bank. No, you don't say that.
as a bank.
Yeah, but there's so many levels of trust that you could easily see an ATM run starting somewhere. If some piece of gossip or something takes hold in some part of Facebook or, texting chains or WhatsApp groups.
Reddit. So there are a couple of groups on Reddit where everybody was selling stocks and bonds today. And,
Yep.
And that's,
Yeah.
That's consumer level. That's good. It didn't impact markets that badly.
Right.
Yeah. So let's kind of wrap up here and see, like, what piece of advice would you give? I don't know. We didn't speak directly to vendors even, or banks. Do you have anything, that piece of advice that you think that bankers should be taking now from your area of expertise and analysis? Seriously.
My take on this right now is wait and see. I mean, this administration has proven so volatile and unpredictable that anything you do could be the wrong move 24 hours later. So I don't know that I would say do anything. And I'm not, I wish our US representatives, Congress, et cetera, would act appropriately and protect us, guardrails, to Theo's point, that we've seen not work. And I would tell all vendors, all banks, just wait. Like, there's nothing to do right now, because whatever you do could be countered by a change in policy and procedure 24 hours later. So I think it's a wait and see time, but a time of protest and pushback and questioning your government leaders about what are you doing to protect the greatest economic system in the world.
Yep. If I was at a bank, I would be on the phone with the ABA and the CBA and saying, what are you guys doing about this, and what can you help us? Because this affects the whole banking system, and your lobbyists are your
Yep.
front face to the government. So I have not seen the ABA or CBA or anybody else or the ICBA say anything. I would be asking them for some direction.
If I were a CISO or a security person inside any of these government agencies, I would tell them to, this is what we mean when we say resist. You do not hand over the keys to the kingdom. And I don't care what they say, what they threaten you with. You do not let these children into your systems. You never would have let the Russians into your systems, no matter how much they offer to pay you. You're not going to let these kids into your systems. And you'll be a hero for it. Just go for it.
That's right. Well said, Richard.
Yep. Agree. And just stay alert. Stay alert and don't take your banker's hours. No puns intended. But I think this is different
Sleeping
times.
bags to work.
Yeah. I think bankers and vendors have to do 24/7 monitoring and deep monitoring, not the traditional channels. Don't look at just its traditional channels, but really, be in Reddit, be wherever you need to be to get your ear to the ground to know what's going on, because you cannot use the tactics of the early 21st century or the 20th century at all. I think that you'll be left behind the 8 ball. The other thing that I think, and this is just a little obsession of mine, is that consumers, want banks to use AI to improve fraud detection, and I think you focusing on how to improve fraud detection, all kinds of identity theft, and looking at, digital identity and things like that can really improve customers' lives that get impacted by these kinds of things. There's a real focus, have you looked at your security, your walls? How secure are those access points? Are you depending on social security numbers? I think there can be these little things that they start to do that focuses on activity while you're looking and waiting. Those are the two things. So
yeah,
yeah.
Everyone's worried about the Nigerian prince scam. In the meantime, a South African just walked into the literal treasury with the keys. But
Yeah.
wait, the Nigerian prince.
Yeah, or
I thought we were
text
worried about
messages.
TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok. Oh, there's
Yeah.
one. Great point,
Mind that.
Dale. Oh no, China's getting our data. Not our biggest issue. Great point.
Well, now they have another source. But I want to thank all of you, Richard, Dion, Alex, and Theo, for jumping on this call, responding to my post on Blue Sky, and sort of giving a different, I think, a different take than what we've seen in the press and in news and everything else about the situation, which I think will be ongoing because, it's I think it's changed.
Let's reconvene as soon as the FDIC is invaded.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I would laugh,
Yeah.
but you might be right.
I know I'm right.
I can't even think. But thank you again for all of
Thank
your
you all.
time.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank